Hey everyone. So today I'm going to show you how I made a Slack agent, which using Langchain agent, AI agent, and I'm going to demonstrate first and then go through how I actually made it. So this is a postman request which says send a message hello there to p underscore Asimov channel. So Asimov is the name of our product that we are developing, and I just tried it out and I want to show it as well. It's working. So let me send this message right now, and if I go back, you can see at 2:31, this is the time right now, I got this message. So this is done completely by Langchain agent. So now I'm going to show you how I actually made this in the code. So this is the code for this. You can see this is a log that came in for this particular agent. I'm using Langchain agent for this to make it work. So I'll just quickly show the diagram that I created. I'll quickly talk about how an agent or an AI agent works. So this is a very simple representation of that. So this is the user request. Here the request is give me the last message. Even that works as well. It basically uses tools to get messages from a particular channel. In this case, I just asked it to send a message on a particular channel. So that's a user input, and this input goes to LLM. But this is not special, but this is LLM with tools. That means it has we have added some functions which is bound to that LLM. So this is basically OpenAI functions model. And this function that I'm talking about, or these tools that we're talking about, these are the Slack tools, which could be a Slack send message tool or Slack fetch messages from a particular channel. So I'll go into that tools as well. Here's a set of tools, so I'll get to that as well. So this initial input goes to this LLM, and then this LLM decides, or rather breaks down that whole statement into smaller pieces, and then each step it decides which tool that it wants to use. And not only that, it also decides what is the tool input that will go into that tool as well. So you can see here, this is the action that this LLM takes, and it decides the tool as well as the tool input, which in this case it is, for the example that I showed you, it is basically going to be send message tool, and the input for that will be the hello there. So basically whatever message I asked it to send it, right? So this is the action step, and then the actual tool invocation happens, which in this case will be calling this API to actually send the message, and that is where you actually see the message coming on the Slack workspace, on my Slack workspace. And then once it does that, it checks whether it has finished what is asked for the initial request, right? So I think in this case it was just a very simple request, so it immediately finished it. But if it was not, if I asked it to do something more, let's say I asked it to fetch some information from another channel, or fetch some, or do a search and then send that message to Slack, then there will be an extra step, and that step will go into this something called agent scratchpad. So you can think of it like a immediate memory that the agent or the other LLM has access to, and it will go into that, and then the whole cycle will repeat again. So at that point, LLM will decide again what is the next step it needs to use, and if it needs to use any tool or not, right? By the way, in this step, the LLM does not have to use a tool every single time. It can choose not to use a tool and execute certain things by itself. For example, if one part of the problem or one part of the statement request was summarize a text, right? So it doesn't need anything to summarize text. Whatever information got, it can summarize by itself. So it can choose not to use a tool as well, but that will still count as an action. And in this case, tool invocation won't be there, and it will just loop, go to the next step, and it will run in this loop until it reaches to an agent finished state, and then it basically comes out of that loop, right? So that's how it works. And if I come back here, this is another representation of how internally an agent work. This is the LLM that I'm using. It is I'm using 3.5, which has the functions calling feature, and I have given it access to these tools, which are basically Slack fetch channels, Slack load messages, Slack send message. These are tools that I have given access to, and this is the memory it has access to the user input, the chat history, and it has also access to the agent scratchpad. Right now I have not implemented chat history. It only has access to user input, but this is something I'll be doing soon. Coming to the code, this is the code, underlying code that works. This is the any request that comes in from I'm using fast API as an API layer, and this is a service function behind it. And any request that comes in, it actually it has this prompt. I'm using Langchain again. It has this initial prompt that goes into LLM. So this is the this I think the easiest way to understand this. The input I got from the user. The scratchpad, agent scratchpad is something, it will be, initially it will be empty. You can see this intermediate step, initially it will be empty because there is nothing to be there. But on every step, it will be added. The output from the previous step will be added onto this. And then you have chat history. Right now I've kept it empty. I've not implemented this thing right now. So this input goes into the prompt, which is something I've decided, I've set it here, and it creates and populates the prompt and makes the final thing that goes into LLM. Then it goes to LLM with tools, which is something I mentioned that by LLM with tools I meant the 3.5 turbo LLM model, which has been bound, or rather these tools has been binded with, right? So I'll get to those tools as well. And then finally it passes this, whatever output comes out of this, it passes that to the output passer. And this is what an agent is. And once you have defined the agent, this is the agent loop. It goes through this step. Basically there's a max iteration I've set. Maximum it can go by 10. And then every step it will identify what tool it needs to use, what is the tool input. The output is the output of a particular agent step. And what is observation by running the tool itself. So tool run is an API call or an external tool call. And finally, the intermediate step is something I've kept it to output and observation. Observation is the output of the tool that it ran. So I made one change here. Instead of appending all the information below that, I just overriding is because it was just overflowing my context. So that is why I just made this one change. But after this, as you can see, this is pretty straightforward. It runs this loop, and at the end of it, it gives the return value and comes out of this loop. Coming to the tools itself, this is something I'm still working on. We are still working on. It has the Slack client, it has fetch tool, it has fetch user tool, it has keyword search. We are also making some semantic search using VV8, and it has this send message tool as well, which actually we used to send a message to Slack, right? So yeah, this is how it works. It's a very quick, brief overview. Finally, if you want to understand and build this thing yourself, this Langchain documentation is a great resource to get started or to learn more. I have gone through these, not all of them, but I've gone through some of these documentation that I've been using, and what I could recommend is going through this part of the documentation, which is the tools, because I feel tools is the most important element of this making any good agent. The underlying agent, how it works internally, how it uses, figures out which tool to use. That is, I think, the next step, which is something, if you want to take your project to the next level, that only then you want to modify that thing. But to get started, you primarily just want to use the OpenAI functions model itself and provide it all the good tools, all the relevant tools that it should use. For example, in my case, it was Slack, send message, and other similar tool, right? So I would definitely recommend to go through these documentation, and which will give you a good sense of how to build your own custom tool and make your own agent do whatever you want out of it, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you like the video content, and I'm hoping to make more of these. Thanks a lot.